Gravlax for Easter, and this will be our third time making it. What you'll need is wild caught salmon, and it should be frozen before. We're just doing a small batch, so this is a little bit over a pound, and it's important that it has the skin on still and that it has been frozen. Research that later, you'll put that in on why it needs to be frozen. Anyway, I'm going to rinse it off. Also dispose of this paper. I'm rinsing it off, and then I'm going to pat it dry. I'm going to pat it dry. Also, you want to check for any bones, but if you do find any bones, you kind of run your fingers through it. I use little pliers, or you can use tweezers to pull them out, and you need to really tug them. They're pretty thick, and you'll feel them for sure. I think they did a good job. That's why it's actually looking a little rough here too, because they pulled the bones out. I probably would have done a neater job.
I know, they kind of mutilated it.
To make Gravlax, the recipe that I use is that I do, for each pound, I'm going to do equal parts of sugar and salt. So I'm going to do 2 tablespoons of sugar and 2 tablespoons of salt per pound. So we've got about a pound here, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to also use organic lemon. It has to be organic because all you're using is the zest of it, and you don't want to use lemon that's not organic for that. And dill. When you're done doing the rub, the mixture I just created, then you're just going to cover the whole thing in dill, and you're going to do it all within a plastic wrap. And then you're going to put the plastic wrap into a baggie, and then you put it on a flat surface, like a tray, and then you'll weight it. And then every day you're going to flip it, make sure it's all coated in its juices, and then on the 3rd day, wipe off all the coating, the marinade, and that should be, your Gravlax, and then you trim it out. Okay, so that's the process. Zest, an organic lemon, and this is going to get mixed into the salt and sugar mixture.
You're just taking off the outside.
Yeah, that's all, just zesting it. Now we'll go with the salt and sugar.
That's zesty.
It's very zesty. Using raw cane sugar. I just like to find the best quality ingredients possible. I'm doing 2 tablespoons because we're only doing a basically small portion of just a pound. So do 2 tablespoons of the salt. Now we like ours a little sweeter, and that's why I'm doing it equal. If you don't like yours sweet, you can do less sugar.
And that's which salt?
Oh, and this is the Celtic sea salt, but you definitely want to use a sea salt or kosher salt when you're doing this, not your regular table salt. So I'm mixing all of this together now. And that is all that's to it for doing a Gravlax as far as what you're going to rub it with. This is the brine. There you go. So I'll use half of it on the skin side and half of it on the flesh side. A piece of saran wrap. Pretty large. Make sure that whatever glass or plate is large enough for your piece of salmon. Put down a piece of plastic wrap first. So I'm going to take this now and rub it into it. I'm coating it very well with it. I'm going to massage it in a little. It's the salt, the sugar, and the lemon zest. But what I'm finding, if you do it yourself, you're customizing it to what you like. Like some people like to add other things in here too, like you could experiment with pepper. I didn't really like it with pepper. The first one I did had that. Also it's wild, which again is even more expensive. And I'm going to do the skin side. Okay, and then I'm just going to line all this with dill. I'm going to use another plate.
Right.
And flip it like that. And another piece of wrap too. So that's kind of like holding all the rub in there as well. And so what I'm going to do is take plastic wrap and coat this side too, cover it. And I'm going to take another plate to flip it. Right, so I'm just going to do this to now put the dill on this side. Peel up this plastic. So I'm going to put dill, well, same thing as I did on the back side, just to cover it kind of completely.
It's like a mulch, the way you put Christmas tree on plants.
That's right. It's
That's a mulch.
Dill mulch.
Dill mulch.
But the flavor from this is unlike anything store-bought. Just makes it so tender and so beautiful. And maybe it's because we're already starting with such a good piece of fish, because it is the wild-caught salmon. It's just divine. So I'm going to kind of turn up the edges just a little bit here and kind of peel this part up a little bit like this. You do want to completely cover it because it is going to start, once the marinade and it's sitting for days, it starts making a juice, and you want it to make sure that it's in the juice. You also want to make sure this is pretty airtight. Actually, I'll do a fresh piece of saran wrap with this, because you are going to be flipping it every day, just once a day. And they want you to start this skin side up, so it will have to be flipped again. I'm going to stick everything in a Ziploc baggie. Get a large freezer bag one, because again, you don't want the juices leaking out.
In your refrigerator.
In your fridge. Be able to lift it now. And again, you don't really want air in here, so you want to press it pretty tight. And seal it up. This is done. What you want to do is, again, you got to make sure the skin side is the upside of how you start. So tonight it goes in, this was the skin side up, and you put weight on it. So it's going to be weighted, flat surface. So I'm going to use this, and I'll put something on here to give it weight. So when it's in the fridge, it has some weight on it. This is going to be awesome. We found a brick. But we're going to
looks nice.
Wrap this in saran wrap before I put it on.
Wrapped in foil.
Foil, and that should
nice
be
and heavy.
A fantastic weight
this
for this
is heavy.
project.
And it keeps it pressed down.
So,
nice.
You know, mother invention, right? It's like a
looks
bacon
great.
press, but it's also good for
weighting
it down. And this is what we use at other times. This is like an old iron. That's all there really is to it. And this is going to go in the fridge, and I won't be really having to do this until tomorrow night, and then I'll flip it again. And one more time, and then it's ready to eat.
In a few days.
So, right, it's about 3 days. It could go up to 5, and you could do 2 days is fine.
Right, so this is not smoked lox, this is Gravlax, which
is how to
is
make
just...
Gravlax. Really pretty easy stuff here, and the results is amazing for the effort.
Okay.
Also, you want to put this in the coldest section of your refrigerator, which is on the bottom. Okay, it's been about 24 hours since we put the salmon Gravlax into the fridge, and so now I'm going to take the brick off, take off my little cutting board, and you see how it really is very effective in flattening it out.
Flat, yeah.
And I'm going to flip it. So that's what I need to do today. Really couldn't be simpler.
That was it?
That's it. I guess you could just check and see that there's going to be a little bit of a brine happening here with like a juiciness. That's good. That's what you want. You want to see that that's happening. And you kind of want to make sure it gets into the salmon area. But I'm confident that it is by how everything's looking, so I don't feel like I need to open it.
So you spun it?
I spun it. This is now the flesh side is up.
Okay. And the brick comes back.
Yes, I'm putting this mini cutting board and then the brick on top of that.
Okay.
And
then
it weighted.
Now it's going
Back in the fridge until tomorrow night.
See you tomorrow.
Okay.
Ciao.
So this is day 2. And we are going to flip the salmon. That's what you got to do on day 2. You're going to flip the salmon. That's it.
That was it? So much for this video, huh? It's like
well,
a
wait
quickie.
till day 3.
And what's going to happen?
Well, day 3 is when you get into the carving. Day 3 is a little more involved.
Okay, back to the refrigerator. Okay, so we took it out for the last day.
Now what we're doing is we're going to take off all the brine. So before I start, I want to have like a bag, like a small bag that I could just throw things into, because I actually like to keep anything with the fish separate. I don't want it just sitting in the garbage smelling out my kitchen. So I keep a bag close by so everything can get just like put into that.
That's important.
I think it is kind of an
Yeah,
important
it's a-
strategy of how to deal with it.
I think it's a stinky little,
it's a-
extra. These will be on the extras.
It's a reality.
Director's cut.
Yes. I'm also using a cutting board that's designated for fish. The dill. So you're going to scrape all that away. I'm going to use a paper towel to remove it. And what you want to do is take everything off of it. I don't really like rinsing it. I don't want to get rid of it. I just want to pat it off. All the marinade, brining.
Mm-hmm.
So we still can keep some of the flavor of just wiping away the brine and the liquid part. Okay, the skin side, I'm also going to be wiping the dill off and the marinade. And all this just gets thrown away.
Well, that's garbage, yeah.
Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just covering this.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to flop it,
Okay.
and then I'm just going to make sure the skin side also is cleaned off. Now it feels very dry. This is what I'm looking for. I'm going to take off some of this part of it first, just to dispose of it.
Little fatty edge, right?
Yeah. One thing I'd like to say here is that I'm just using my sharp kitchen ceramic knife. There are specific knives that are just called salmon knives. We've researched it. I mean, they come in a variety of prices that are long and thin and flexible, and that's really the kind of knife that you're supposed to use to be doing this.
Yeah, but they start at like $139.
Well,
they do.
the good ones do. I think
Yeah.
we're seeing them for a little bit less. Because I'm using my salmon for like appetizer kind of size, I'm going to cut it in half through the center, so it'll be easier to just do smaller slices.
Okay.
So I'm going to handle it as two different pieces now. And how I'm using the salmon is going to be as an appetizer size piece. So now this is two different pieces to work with. What you want to do before you really get started is to bring out sheets of wax paper, and I do a bottom sheet, and what I do is kind of break up the salmon into 1/4 pound per slice, and I wrap it and lay it, make it airtight, and I'll show you how I do that. Do another, so there'll be like 4 layers, about 1/4 pound per layer with the slicing. And you got to keep the knife clean as you go. You want to slice these as thin as possible.
Tastes very sweet.
Well, we use a lot of sugar, equal amounts of sugar. Again, these are the ends, so it probably isn't a good reflection of what it is. But slice it as thin as possible, like paper thin, and add an angle too. So I'm going to start stacking these, but it seems very, very tender. And I'm stacking it in the wax paper. I'm talking per layer of wax paper gets about 1/4 pound. Sometimes you'll encounter a bone.
A bone. Take it out.
Yeah. I really like that it has a distinct flavor of the sugar, the salt, and the dill. Like you could really taste it. I would start with a simple recipe like this and then go from there, you know, start deciding on what you want to add to it flavor-wise. To me, I went the other direction where I started pulling away from flavors, where I really want to keep it very simple. But I like the simplicity of this brine a
Purist.
lot. And they say too, like when you're slicing it, you want it sliced as thin where you can actually like see the knife through it. It should be paper thin, as thin as you can get it. The color is
really good.
unbelievable. This is a wild Alaskan salmon. I would go to the highest quality that you could find. You know, sushi quality is ideal. If not, make sure that it was commercially frozen. And
Right.
also, the reason why you want to do wild Alaskan is because the flesh is thicker, is more dense.
Oh.
So that's another reason why you don't want farm raised, is that the flesh isn't really right for this. For curing, you really want a denser fleshed fish. You don't want a tail piece, you want the belly meat. Just really tender.
You've never had
melt
anything
in
like
your
this.
mouth.
You've
It's
never had anything. It's so fresh. You
unbelievable.
could never get it this fresh.
It's really fantastic. I don't need this now. This is just going to be garbage.
Skin is garbage.
So I'm going to start my next layer. And what I do is I just put wax paper on top of what I just did. And I press into it to get all the air out. So it's pretty sealed in there. And I'll start my next layer right on top of this. It's kind of therapeutic making these really delicate slices.
You're getting it pretty thin even with this
Well, it's a
knife.
very sharp knife. You gotta be kind of like be in a Zen mode when doing this.
There's so much labor involved in cutting it. It's like an art. It looks nice.
Thank you.
Gravlax art, I think you should frame this.
Oh, sure. In your belly.
In my belly, I frame it. Yeah, it'll frame my
Your
exquisite
belly.
exquisite shape. Each
You
layer,
want to pull it up.
okay,
It's
is
airtight.
about a quarter pound of this.
Right,
And then you're
and
going to
then
put another sheet now on it, and
Of the
we'll
wax
continue.
paper and continue. Sealing it up good?
Now, this is the last slice. You
job.
can't really slice it, can you? Going to slice that little
Ah,
thing?
just a little bit. You can take
Wow.
off.
Wow, this is it. We finished.
Okay, the other thing is that salmon keeps in the fridge for about 7 days. If you end up making more than that, you can freeze it and it can stay in the freezer for about a month.
Really?
Dijon. We're using an English cucumber. Each one will just get one
Good.
piece. Pretty thin slices. You want these to be delicate. It's going on pumpernickel bread. But again, these are just like little appetizer ideas. I'm putting on the lox.
Lax.
Gravlax. You're doing little appetizers like this, it doesn't really matter that they're small slices because you want small slices anyway. To store the lox, before I proceed with the final topping here, I'm going to cover the last layer with a clean sheet of the wax paper. And again, there's a bottom sheet that is separate. There's no... Then I just start folding it over, right? So you really want to kind of keep it airtight. Keep pressing it down. Kind of making the fold towards the bottom, right? But that's really how you're going to open it. That's your top layer when you pull it out, just to know that. And now I'm going to stick this into a Ziploc. And there you go. And now stick it in your fridge in the coldest section. And this should be able to keep for about a week in there. Putting a little bit of dill on, just very delicately.
Oh,
You don't want to
not
have
much.
too much. It's just accent. Also, it's giving somebody an indication of the flavoring of what to expect.
Uh-huh.
That there's dill in the salmon. Just a little bit.